Hello and welcome to another episode of Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. And wrangling something we haven't seen in quite a while is Sean Snyder, our volunteer coordinator. We've been focusing on our dog population because it's been so large and we really want to get those guys out into the public as much as possible, but we do still have plenty of cats, especially kittens on the adoption floor right now. I know a lot of people are still looking to add those pint-sized felines to their households. And one of the ones that we have for you today is Sprinkles. And she is a product of our foster care system. So she's very friendly and social and playful. She is one of 4 kittens that came from that litter. So she's, your typical kitten. She, enjoys a good nap. She enjoys playing with her siblings and getting affection from, our visitors and volunteers. We have a lot of kittens who, unlike Sprinkles, are kind of growing up here because they kind of miss the boat. They come in and then, all of the ones with like the nice color patterns and things like that get adopted. And then, some of them get left behind. And then the next wave of kittens comes in and there's newer, younger kittens who maybe have better colors. Which is why it's surprising to me that Sprinkles, as a calico cat, a true calico cat, is still here. A lot of people think that our Tortian whites are calicos, but there is a difference. You can see with Sprinkles, she has a white coat with distinct patches of color. On the Torties, which are often confused as calicos, they have kind of all of those oranges and blacks are kind of all swirled together, and then sometimes they have patches of white as well. The calico cat is actually the state cat of Maryland. Fun fact for everybody as well. So she is here looking to find her forever home. You just want to book an appointment to obviously meet all of the kittens that we have available because we still have plenty of them in foster care. So if that's what you're looking for, whether you want 1 or 2, we have a lot to choose from.
So we received a lot of questions on our Facebook page about her eye. What was wrong with her eye?
So when she first became available, she and all of her siblings were kind of recovering from upper respiratory infections, which are very common in this type of environment. And sometimes, in addition to, the sniffles, they get a little conjunctivitis. So when I took her picture originally, she was still being treated for conjunctivitis, which is just some swelling and inflammation around the mucous membranes. And because of how the cat's eyes are, it can affect that area. So it was really red and it was a little bit swollen, things like that. But I didn't want to not post her because I didn't want to delay people, wanting to take her home. But as you can see now, that's totally cleared up. She was being treated for that. And that's not an issue for her anymore. And that conjunctivitis is actually a fairly common thing in conjunction with that upper respiratory infection. So it's not anything that any adopter will have to worry about in the future. She is perfectly fine. So all of the people who are, on Facebook concerned about her and her condition, she was treated as all the animals here are, and she's, back in good health. If you want to make Sprinkles here part of your family, the first step is going to be to make an appointment to visit her. And you can do that by going to visit fcac.as.me. The first dog that we have for you today is Jackson, and he's a 4-year-old terrier mix. And a lot of people, when they look at Jackson, they think, oh, he looks like he's just like so sad. That's kind of how his face looks, but he's actually not a sad guy. And everybody thinks that he's just like super like calm and relaxed, and he is, but he also has a very playful side. Jackson's a fan of like running games. He likes chasing, and if a lot of people don't know, if you play bow to a dog, they will play bow back to you, and you can start soliciting that play. And Jackson really likes those types of things. He does no sit, and he takes treats super nicely. He is a good boy. We had our event recently, and he was out walking around with all the other dogs out there, and he didn't seem to mind them too much. He loves, pets and all those things. And because his skin's a little itchy right now, he really loves some scratches. It really makes him feel good. And he's quickly rising to the ranks of one of my favorite dogs. We all know Evan is still my favorite dog, but I really do like Jackson. He's a fun guy, and I think he's a little unexpected because when you see him, you think he's just going to be like, he looks older than he actually is, and you think he's just going to like be lazy, but he's a super playful, fun guy. Typically of most dogs, he does have some issues with, not liking his feet and his mouth handled. And one of the other things is that fast movements around his head can be startling to him. So just keeping that in mind. And for that reason, we're recommending that he not go to a home with really small children, just because sometimes they're not always conscious of, what they're doing with their hands and things like that. And we don't want Jackson to be upset or scared. But he's pretty easy to walk on a leash, and he's super friendly and social. And he's going to do, well in most home settings.
So you talked a lot about his great personality, but adopters should be aware he does have a couple of medical issues.
Yeah, so one of the obvious things is his skin. He came in like that with a deep skin infection, which we are treating. We've also recently changed him over from our standard chicken-based diet to avoid chicken with him, because some of the dogs here, Achilles is one of them, Julie previously as well, have allergies to chicken, and that might be impeding him from healing if some of that is a reaction to an allergy. So that's something that we're working with, and adopters should be aware that they may have some ongoing maintenance with that. He does also have a pretty low-grade heart murmur at 2 out of 6. So being mindful of looking for signs of any type of heart disease, exercise intolerance, coughing, but you might just need to have him checked up, instead of once a year, maybe twice a year, making sure that your vet is paying attention to his heart. And then lastly, we did neuter him, but he had a little bit of a complication there as well. So he's still swollen, but hopefully that will dissipate soon. We're on top of all of the medical for Jackson, but we want to make sure that adopters are aware of those things so they're not surprised. But as I mentioned with Sprinkles, all of the animals that have any type of medical issue here are treated by our staff veterinarian and our medical team. And if necessary, we send them out to see other veterinarians in local area hospitals and clinics. But if you think that Jackson is just the guy that you've been looking to add to your family, then you can do that and start that whole process by going to visit fcac.as.me to meet him. All of our hounds recently got adopted, but then Malu came in, and now we have a hound on the floor. He is an older gentleman at about 7 years old, although he has a very youthful look to him. His muzzle's not super gray. He has that great puppy smile. And we have him down as a hound mix. I see a little beagle in there myself. But he's just a very sweet guy. He is very calm and relaxed. When I went into his kennel to take his picture, he already knows a lot of behaviors. He knows sit and he knows paw, which a lot of the dogs seem to know. He does a nice sit pretty, but that's not his cue word for it. So I haven't figured out what his cue is, but when he gets really excited and he wants a treat, he'll kind of sit up on his hind legs and give you a good grin, trying to work hard for his tasty treat. But sometimes people use different cues for those types of things. Traditionally, that would be sit pretty, but we haven't quite figured out what his cue word is. But it'll be really easy to put that on a cue. Much like with Cherry, she was spinning on her own, and our animal care supervisor put it on twirl. So when you say twirl, Cherry will just spin around in circles all day long. But in terms of his behavior assessment, he has one of the better behavior assessments on the floor in terms of his food and things like that. He's keeps his kennel clean. He's super friendly. He's easy to walk. He does well with the other dogs. No issues with his food. He really likes petting and affection. So a lot of those things are things that people are looking for in a dog. They want that dog that's going to be a little bit more low maintenance. They don't necessarily want to have to worry about, teaching the dog not to jump up on them, which a lot of our adolescent dogs really need a lot of those manners things to be worked on with their new family. But this guy doesn't seem to have as many of those types of issues that he needs to work on. And he's just, super, super friendly and sweet. And hopefully we'll find him a great home. And the benefit of getting an older dog is, again, that more relaxed and calm behavior. But also when you adopt a dog or a cat that's a senior here, you get a discount. So you get $20 off your adoption fee for taking home one of those animals that's over the age of 5.
So when I got him out of his kennel, I noticed it said, can be very vocal. Does he have any restrictions based on that observation?
So he doesn't have any restrictions. And while I've not heard him be vocal, that doesn't mean that the kennel staff haven't heard him, doing the typical hound thing. Hounds like to bark and bay, and they are known for following their noses and expressing their opinions. He's doing a little bit of whining right now. So while there's no restrictions on where he can live, you might want to think about that. If you're living in an apartment complex and you're worried about, maybe having issues with your neighbors and your landlords because your dog is being vocal, then maybe you don't take on a hound or Taco, because Taco also likes to sing. If you live really close to your neighbors, just be mindful of those things and whether or not that's going to be a good fit. But overall, he doesn't really have any restrictions in terms of where he can live or the age children that he can live with. If you're looking to make this cute little hound part of your family, then you need to go to visit fcac.as.me to start that process. Our next guest is Smokey, and he's one of our younger dogs, and he's also one of the dogs that came from the hoarding case that we mentioned previously on another episode. His brother is actually Marvel. These guys came in from an apartment situation, and there were 8 dogs, 2 parents, and then 4 puppies, or 6 dogs maybe, 6 dogs, sorry. 2 parents and 4 puppies that were all living in one room in an apartment. So they'd never been outside or anything like that. So Smokey is making great strides. Right now, of the dogs that we have left from that situation, he is the most outgoing. He is quickly learning that toys are fun, and that he, loves human affection and things like that. He's doing so much better with being afraid of doors and all of that stuff, because he had just never experienced any of those things before in his life. He had been in one room, so we are so proud of the progress that he's making. I was talking to the staff earlier. They say, while he's not necessarily house trained yet, he's doing a lot better about all of those things. He's not walking in anything anymore. He's avoiding, doing some what we call finger painting. So he's definitely made great strides. He's being much more social with people he doesn't know when people are coming to think of maybe taking him on as a pet. And he's really enjoying all of his treats and the playtime that he has. He's learning to walk on leash really nicely. I don't know if you have an opinion on how he walked on his leash today.
He did well, yeah.
These guys had never been on leash before. They didn't know how to walk on leash. So in just about a month's time, we're really happy with all the progress they've made. But Smokey and Moon and Mosaic and Marvel are all still looking for forever families. So these guys are still available for adoption. And we are hoping that we can find the right family for them.
Like you said, Smokey and his crew have made great strides here at the shelter, but there are some things that potential adopters should be aware of. What are they?
So he is a Velcro dog when he's being walked, especially in an unfamiliar place, because they did have contact with humans. They are very, they look for human reassurance. So when you're walking him, he likes to stick really close to you. As you can see, he wants to be in your lap because that's where he feels really safe. He enjoys that too, but it's also something that makes him feel really safe. And just as I mentioned, everything is new to them. So you want to make sure that all of his new experiences are positive. If he's getting into the car, we want to make sure that, he learns that the car is an awesome place to be. There's treats in the car. Or, he's going to the vet's office. That's a fun place to go. There's treats there. If he hears a loud noise, thunderstorms, pans dropping on the floor, all of those things, we want to make sure that he's not going to develop fear of those things. So just making sure, again, that those are all positive experiences. That's stuff that a lot of people would do with really young puppies, but he didn't get that at that really important age. So we're kind of working on that now as he's an older puppy or an adolescent dog. But these guys all have bright futures ahead of them, and there are definitely, if Smokey's not what you're looking for, then there are other options from that same family. He's also a great example of, you don't always know what the dog's breed is by how it looks, because he is a Lab Catahoula Leopard dog mix, but you don't see any of that on there. So being mindful of that when you're looking at any of our dogs that we have on the adoption floor, because we don't actually know what their mixes are just by how they look. If you want to make Smokey part of your family, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to meet him. In our last episode, we introduced you to our larger canine bonded pair. Tokyo and Conde, who are about 2 and 3 years old, and a combined 120 some pounds of dog. But not everybody can take on 120 some pounds of dog. So if you're looking to take on 2 furry friends for the great price of basically 1 dog with these seniors, then maybe Soleil and Luna would be a good option for you. So they are Chihuahua mixes, mixed with a variety of things. Maybe Luna here is the brindle. She has kind of a puggy face with that adorable underbite. It's like super pronounced. And then Soleil is a little bit bigger. She has that great kind of tan color. And these guys just love each other. They really take comfort in each other. They cuddle together. If they get separated and they're feeling nervous, they kind of like, wait, where's the other one at? I need to find them. They're definitely much more confident when they're together as opposed to being separate. And they're really fun. They're older, so they're Luna is 10 and Soleil is 9, so they're a little bit calmer, more relaxed, but because of their breeds and their small size, they still have a ton of life left to live. They can be a little bit nervous at first, but they warm up pretty quickly, and then they want to sit right next to you or climb up on you. They really want to put their face right in your face and ask for attention. They both know sit, and they take treats pretty nicely. They're really easy to walk. In fact, most of our dog walkers and volunteers and staff, they walk them both together like Sean did. They don't have any issues with that. And they're pretty tolerant too. We had multiple costumes on them for our Halloween photo shoot, and during our event they were walking around. Some of the dogs that are really vocal can make them a little bit nervous. The bigger vocal dogs, they can kind of walk a little faster past those guys because they're like, oh, you make me a bit nervous. But all in all, they've done really well with the other dogs. And they're just a great kind of relaxed, fun pair. They do play a little bit, but they're mostly interested in getting all the cuddles. That's kind of their big thing. All the cuddles and all the treats.
So you mentioned they can be a little shy when they first meet new people. So what could a potential adopter do to make them feel a little more comfortable in that first meeting?
So in general, we are bigger than the dogs, right? Humans are taller than the dogs. And especially with these guys and their smaller stature, getting low can be really helpful because their size is intimidating. One of our staff people, their son was in here the other day interacting with the dogs and playing and helping us out. And he's almost 6 foot tall. So that was really, they were really overly cautious about him until he got down low. That just makes you less intimidating, and really allowing them to come up to you and sniff, and really avoiding going straight for the top of their head. A lot of people want to pet the dogs on the top of their head, but it's really like nerve-wracking to see that come over you. So, going under their chin first, or their chest, or sometimes even, on they like their little butt scratches and things like that. Can be a better way to go. And then obviously tossing treats. Don't really force the dog to come to you, but toss them out. And then as they get more and more comfortable, they'll come and approach you and take them from your hand. So those are all really good ways to introduce yourself, not just to shy dogs, but really to any dog. But these guys in particular may not come up and initiate those activities. So giving them that little bit of help could go a long way if you want to make them part of your family. And because they are a bonded pair, you get $20 off for adopting 2. And then because of their senior age status, you get an additional discount. So, it's a bargain. 2 dogs for basically the price of 1, and they're great dogs. If you want to go about meeting them and starting that adoption process, you're going to have to go to visitfcac.as.me to book that appointment. The last canine guest that we have for you is a very new addition to our adoption floor. This is Tyson. He actually came in. He is one of 3 dogs that are currently available for adoption that came from the same property. So there's Tyson, and then there's Thor and Zeus. They are all 1-year-olds. So we're presuming they came from the same property. They're all the same age. We were told they were all terrier mixes. So we're assuming that they are litter mates, but that's just an assumption. He is a super friendly guy. He got processed for adoption on Wednesday and was out at our event, no issues, being social. Somebody just commented on our Facebook page that, I just put his picture up this morning. Oh, I met him. He was super nice. So, don't have to take our word for it. You can go online and check out all the comments about people who met him and really thought he was a great dog. He knows sit and paw. He has a really great smile and super cute white little teethers. And according to his previous family, he did really well with the kids in the household. I don't know how old they were, but they, it was mentioned that he did really well with kids. They also had cats in the house, and there wasn't an issue there. So definitely a dog that can fit in anywhere. We don't really have any restrictions on where he can live either. So, he's going to be a great fit for many, many types of families. Super confident, very friendly. In his vet notes, they did note, and you can maybe see it a little bit on his face, he has some little like scrapes and scabs and stuff like that. We're assuming that those are from scuffles from just, intact males in the households. We're going to take care of that. We're going to make sure that all 3 of these guys get neutered before they go to their forever home, as we do with all of our animals. Cats and dogs and rabbits are all spayed or neutered before they go home. So that's not something that anybody will have to worry about. He has done really well with, keeping his kennel fairly clean. He's done well with all the other dogs. And there were tons of dogs out at our Wednesday event, and they were all hanging out together, easy to obtain. Says he can be a little bit of a puller when he's walking. I don't know if you can. I haven't had to walk him yet.
Yeah, he walked fairly nice compared to some other dogs.
But harnesses can always be helpful with that. And he really loves some affection and some petting, as you can see. So he's a great addition, and we can't wait to find him a family.
So as you mentioned, he did live with a few other dogs. He had a slight issue. What was that issue?
So Tyson doesn't really like to share his food. According to his previous owners, he was having an issue where he was resource guarding his food, not from all of the dogs in the household, but just his brother Thor. He didn't want Thor near him when he was eating, and they would get into scuffles, and then Thor would give it back. And that could be also where some of the scrapes and scabs and stuff on him came from. So not saying that he can't necessarily live with another dog, because he was fairly successful with that, but you just need to be mindful of, when you're feeding, you do need to feed them separately. So feeding them in crates, and then, when they're done eating, removing their bowls, hand feeding them treats. Don't throw treats on the ground for them to kind of all go after. So just being mindful of those types of things. And any of the times that we're introducing one of our dogs into a family that has existing dogs, even if they have a great history with other animals, you want to make sure that you are doing, proper meet and greets here, and then doing them again when you're at home. And that goes for, at home with the cats and the dogs. Even though he's previously lived with other cats, you want to make sure that you're introducing him to your cats properly so there aren't any incidents. But I think he's a great guy, and I can't wait to get to know him a little bit more. If you want to get to know him a little bit more as well, you can do that by going to visit fcac.as.me. If you didn't see any of the animals that you think would be a good fit for you on the show today, there's tons more. You want to go to our Facebook page. You can see pictures and information about all of the dogs, cats, small animals. You can just go to facebook.com/FCACMD. Thanks for watching.